Hello, this is Jay Mitchell, and we are back with another episode of the Libertarian Censored podcast, going over all the posts on the Libertarian Censored subreddit. Let's get right into it. So first we have Pam Bodie to Trump. We want to go in and take the guns first. And that was a post from Ragnar OKXG from the DB Shore 1 YouTube channel. And yeah, I don't think that's very libertarian, taking people's guns without their consent. But yeah, I hope a lot of people who voted for Trump are willing to call out Trump or any of his administration if they do that, because he did say that during his first term. I think after the Las Vegas shooting with the music festival from the Mandalay Bay, when that guy Stephen Back shot everyone. He said, "Oh, I want to take the guns first, due process second." I think that's when he said that. And now his attorney general looks like she's saying that. So hopefully, the people will call him out on this, his supporters. But that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Trump disavowed Project 2025 during the campaign, not anymore, from nytimes.com from Donald Key. And yeah, I personally don't think Project 2025 has that realistic a chance of happening. Maybe a page or two at most. The Heritage Foundation has issued a mandate for leadership which is what the Project 2025 is. They issue a mandate for leadership for every presidency, but I don't recall people talking about Project 2021, Project 2017, Project 2013, Project 2009, etc., because it's just their new method of fear-mongering. You can't always believe the media hype, especially from DNC propaganda rags like the New York Times. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have I'm done with Democratic purity tests from Lemon Limelight. And they said, Seth Moulton, a Massachusetts Democrat, shares a post-election opinion in the Washington Post. I'm done with Democratic purity tests, and they share the article. Since Election Day, I've learned two things about the Democratic Party. The word police will continue to prowl no matter how badly we lose, and a growing number of us are finally ready to move beyond them and start winning again. 2 days after Donald Trump's victory, I gave an example of how Democrats spend too much time trying not to offend anyone, even on issues when most Americans feel the same way. Speaking as a dad, I said I don't like the idea of my two girls one day competing against biological boys on the playing field. My main point, though, is what I said next. As a Democrat, I'm supposed to be afraid to say that. The blowback, which was swift, included the chair of the local Democratic committee calling me a Nazi cooperator and about 200 people gathering in front of my office to protest the sentence. My unimpeachable record of standing up for the civil rights of all Americans within the trans community is relevant. What has amazed me, though, is what's happening behind the scenes. Countless Democrats have reached out from across the party to thank me. The question of whether to have reasonable restrictions on transgender women's participation in women's sports wasn't their point. The most agreed, just as it wasn't mine. They were simply glad that a fellow Democrat would violate the moratorium on speaking our minds. Voters want elected officials to give voice to their concerns, not tell them what they should think. When Democrats don't engage honestly on real issues important to Americans, we give them the impression that we either don't understand or, worse yet, simply don't care. According to one exit poll, the number of reasons swing voters chose Trump was Harris's focus more on cultural issues like transgender issues rather than helping the middle class. Worse, when we remain silent in the face of GOP attacks rather than decisively putting them to bed and moving on, as when the Harris campaign went weeks without even acknowledging Trump's devastating anti-trans ad. Not only do we lose elections, but these issues get defined and decided entirely on Republican terms. There is no greater service to the people whose rights we claim to want to protect. This should have been an easy election for Democrats. We lost the White House to a felon who was alienating many of the Republican faithful. Republicans were so dysfunctional that they couldn't even elect a Speaker of the House for 3 weeks last year, never first in modern history. But the American people voted for Trump because he articulated a vision, however twisted and unconscionable, for solving their problems and addressing their fears. The good news for Democrats is we have a proud history of raising the challenges of working Americans and helping solve them. We didn't do this by telling voters what to think or how to feel, but by listening when they told us. And yeah, I definitely agree that Democrats have a lot of purity tests these days. You can't dissent at all without the woke Twitter rainbow hairs coming after you, or woke blue sky rainbow hairs, I should say, since they apparently want to make that a thing. But, the Republicans have that a bit as well. If Liz Cheney, voting in line of Trump like 90% of the time, but, she says, oh, I don't like him, I'm going to campaign with Kamala. And yeah, that's something that they don't like to send against Trump, just like Republicans don't like to, just like Democrats don't like to send against woke. But I personally think it's a much bigger issue on the Democrat side currently. You literally can't go against woke. You can literally say everything right, but dissent from one woke narrative like Moulton did here, and they'll come after you for it, like for doing wrong. Think, and I think that's why as long as you have these woke purity tests, and that you're not allowed to send off from like transgender males in women's sports, or no, transgender females in women's sports, or trans surgeries for minors. If you're, as long as you're not allowed to dissent from those, then you're going to alienate people, and they'll vote for either the Republican candidate, vote for party, or not vote at all. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have We Need UHC Yesterday from Ragnar OKXG. And that's a post that says, friendly reminder, USA is the only country in the world with pre-existing conditions. Everywhere else is referred to simply as your medical history. Pre-existing condition is a term created by insurance companies as means to defraud their customers. And yeah, I personally am not for universal health care. I think if people want the government to pay for their health care and want to spend their taxpayer dollars for that, I think they should be able to. But I don't think people should be forced to pay for. I think if people want to use the private enterprises to pay for their health care as well, I think they should be able to as well. So yeah, I definitely support healthcare choice. I'm a very pro-choice, I would say. But, I believe people should do whatever they want with their own resources and their own bodies. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Vice's hard right turn to Trumpism from TheIntercept.com by Ninja Lover. And yeah, this is just getting back to what we're saying with the Democratic and woke purity test. If you dissent at all, they'll come after you for it. And Vice said something, about like, oh, here's how illegals cross the border, and suddenly they're Trump alt-right Nazis, and that just goes to show you how, as long as if you dissent at all, they'll come after you for it. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have looking for editor-writer friends for Libertarian / right-wing bent from Dehumanized Sewer Rat. And they said, hello, new to libertarians, so bear with me. Also, no idea if this was the best place to post this, but I'm looking to network libertarians, right-leaning folks who also write. I'm looking for collaborators and friends in the community, essentially. And yeah, you're not going to find too many on this subreddit. This subreddit is pretty much DNC propaganda, like most of Reddit at this point. But yeah, if you wanna ask this, I think you should be able to. But don't expect to find too many on this subreddit, since it's pretty much all just the DNC propaganda rag. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have tourists from Bison2407, and that's a meme they shared. Leave only footprints, and they have the Don't Tread on Me flag. Tourists be warned. And I guess I would agree with that. Don't tread on people without their consent. I think if someone feels like you're it's as the old saying goes, hippity hoppity, get off my property. If you feel uncomfortable with someone, but while you're on your own property, I think you should be able to do whatever you want, as long as if they don't feel, as long as if you want to justify it. And yeah, that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have, I invite every anti-ANCAP to show their strongest evidence that ANCAP secretly support right-wing authoritarianism and that the instance of the non-aggression principle is just a cover. I ask because I want as many anti-ANCAPs could be given a chance to prove this recurring accusation from dirtballs from the Mises.org, and that's cross post made from the Anarchy is ANCAP subreddit. Mark anarchists are frequently accused of being latent supporters of right-wing authoritarianism. Anarchists in name only. Some dorks do it to own the libs. I challenge all to find one single Mises article which supports it. If they don't have it, there's no serious market anarchist will. And I guess I would agree with that. Any dissent at all is going to be considered right-wing authoritarianism these days. And just like, if that thing about like, oh, Vice is now a Trumpist publication, any dissent, so if you want to label anything to dissent at all right-wing authoritarianism, like you should be able to. But remember the boy who cried wolf. When you label everything you don't like right-wing authoritarianism, people aren't going to take that seriously anymore. They'll just say, well, it's, they'll just say, when you label anyone who dissents at all far right, people will justify voting for them because, when you label any dissent at all as far right, everything's far right, and, people will just vote for that then because, you can't just fearmonger about anyone who dissents at all, and that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Trump threatens 100% tariffs against countries that try and move away from U.S. dollar. Wave goodbye to America from Mediaite.com by Swamphanky Dan. That's crosswords from the r/law subreddit. And yeah, I personally don't care for tariffs and protectionist economics, but a lot of reasons that people don't care for them is because Trump's doing them. They were completely fine or neutral if Biden doing them, and that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Supercut. KJP repeatedly says Biden won't pardon Hunter, which Post just did, and that's the YouTube video from Forbes Breaking News. And yeah, the White House press secretary, I would say, is supposed to lie for the regime. That's pretty much their job. And if I were Joe Biden, I would probably pardon my son as well. But regardless, I do think, the blanket pardon is a bit much, and it's going to allow Hunter to get away with how he influenced Pell using his dad, and how his dad might have been a part of it, especially when it came to the Ukrainian stuff and Rosemont Seneca and him getting on the board of Burisma and all that. Because they're marketing it as, it's just for the gun charges. Well, in reality, I would say the Ukrainian stuff is far more damning, and that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have an alien invasion from NoPoliceState.net by Carlin PSG, and yeah, it looks like some conspiracy stuff about aliens and all that, and let's see what they say. Oh, so dang man. I really, this is just kind of gobbledygook. But yeah, if you want to believe that there's an alien invasion coming on prayer for, I think you should be able to. But if you don't believe in aliens at all, I think you should be able to as well. Ultimately, I don't think if I was an alien, I wouldn't probably stop on this planet. I would say, the people here are all crazy people who all get involved in crazy things and are constantly warring against each other. But yeah, if you want to believe an alien invasion is coming, I think you should be able to say that and say whatever you want about it. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Elon Musk issues fiery ultimatum to GOP senators, confirm Kash Patel or face my political wrath from Donald Key, and that's from the econotimes.com, as crosswords from the centrist subreddit. And yeah, I think this is just propaganda, Tesla man bad, because I don't think he ever said such a thing. But, that's pretty much all Reddit is at this point. It's DNC propaganda, Orange man bad, Tesla man bad, etc., etc. And yeah, that's my thoughts on that issue. And I think we're going to wrap it up there. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.